this thing I don't know that I need to run these other things. I have to buy it and spend $1,000 so I can have the privilege of running these things. And he finally got a phone, a decent phone. He said, so I spent X $100 on this very valuable piece of glass that is slippery like a river rock and designed to fly out of my hand at a moment's notice. And that's kind of like Google to me, because it's like there's this thing that didn't exist, and now they have all this money, and they just pulled it out of the ether. In a way, like farmers get something out of the earth. It's the digital version of farming because they're farming data. But it's like, how can somebody be a gajillionaire out of something we don't really freaking need? We don't really need it. We could live without it, couldn't we?
There's so many things we could. Do we need computers?
No.
I mean, we do, kind of to run the power and the other stuff, but because that's where we're at. But
also radio.
Yeah, well, radio's a good one. Yeah.
But radios, you could get away with. Traditional radio didn't require computers, in the beginning.
No, you would switch out these cassette things, and then you would slice the tapes with some razor blades, and then you'd have to get new razor blades. Digital is much easier. If you guys say something stupid, I can just take it out.
So what are you telling me? You just backed out the whole 2 hours we've been here?
I can do that. All I have to do is hit delete. Of course, if it was a regular tape, all I'd have to do is throw it in the trash.
Why do we still call videotape? He videotaped me.
What do you mean we?
Well, I mean society.
People still say video.
They say videotape.
They say video. They still say video.
Yeah, like this. When we record things, it's always, oh yeah, this is a taped recording.
Right.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen taped, and I'm old enough. I know what tape
or
is.
Xerox
and I've
copy.
Spliced them, and
it's because they own the.
I think it's because it's just a very widely known term. Like fast forward, you don't fast forward anything on TV anymore. You skip ahead in the video file, but you don't fast forward.
What I don't know.
You can increase the speed, but fast forward is a VHS thing, or maybe Betamax if that's your forte.
Huh. I always thought I was fast forwarding. I never realized I was just skipping ahead.
Yeah.
But you're right. I can see that.
YouTube is the same thing. You hit the right arrow key and you're ahead 5 seconds.
Hey, is Snapchat a thing still? Is that still around?
I don't know.
I think
the missing the videos that used to go, the pictures or messages that used to go away. Is that still popular?
Yeah, we get missing person cases where people are still using it, and it makes it impossible to trace things. A lot of bullying goes on through Snapchat.
Oh, bullying.
And things of that nature.
I think Snapchat was created for a very specific audience who wanted to send things they're not supposed to and then get away with it.
Yeah, it was.
Who owns them now?
Oh, I don't know.
I think
did Facebook buy it?
I think
they're buying everything.
I think one of the
it was either Facebook or Amazon. They just buy everything.
We're sitting in a conservative station, right?
Yes.
Okay. And by nature, I'm a conservative individual.
Right.
But I, as a conservative individual, believe that it's time to regulate Facebook and Google.
Oh, yeah. They're basically utilities.
How would you?
They are now.
Well, the internet is a utility.
The internet is a utility.
It's like a phone. It's like a phone. It was a service at one point, then became unified, and then it's a service. Everyone has a phone. Everyone uses a phone. It's a service. It's no longer owned privately.
No, but it's a private company that is totally. I mean,
but with big companies, you get really poor service.
You do. You get, when you call your internet
Verizon
provider, they tell you to go online for better service.
That's not even the worst of it. We wanted to, why is this for, okay. There was a thing a few years ago here at the station. We wanted to change the name on the documentation of the Verizon bill. And we wanted to make sure that our internet wouldn't go out. Just because they came in, they wanted to change all the equipment all the equipment. They said we need a new box, we need a new router. Okay, fine. Swap out the router and internet's down for, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 minutes. It's not the end of the world. It was down for a week. I had to go to Burger King to upload podcasts.
Wow.
And it took like 3 hours just to upload them.
That's ironic that you had to do that during a diet.
See, I would have gone to the library.
Years ago, I was on a diet.
Oh, okay.
Although you spend 3 hours in Burger King, you want to go on a diet.
Yeah, it's funny, you know, I'm driving somewhere and the person, I said, hey, let's stop there. You can't go there. Remember the chili dog incident? Oh, yeah. What about over there? No, remember that burger? Like,
there's always an incident.
Yeah, what can I eat now? Air sandwiches? You know? But it's funny about how the technology advancements, at what point do you regulate something like Google or Facebook versus control them?
At this point, I don't think you can.
I think they have to figure out a way to get the Google genie back in the box.
Yeah.
There's too much privacy issues, data issues. Were you guys familiar with Google's Dragonfly, Project Dragonfly?
I have not heard of that.
They've quote unquote, it's been since canceled. But if you do a search on Bing and do Google Dragonfly. Yes, I always search on the underdog and if I don't like the results, then I go to Google.
Okay.
But
DuckDuckGo.
Yeah, DuckDuckGo. I didn't like that.
Well, I thought it would be because, some things just don't show up on Google because Google, they claim that they don't editorialize their it's an algorithm, it's a robot that does it. And no, it's not.
A robot that does it with hundreds and hundreds of overseers standing over the robot's shoulders.
Exactly. Helicopter.
Yeah, absolutely. But this Project Dragonfly was Google decided, they got blocked about 10 years ago, might be 8 years ago, out of China, right? And China said, well, unless you do this, this, and this, you can't come here and play. And Google said, well, we're not going to do that because we're not giving up this. We're not going to give you the right to do that. And I don't remember what all the things were. But if you go to Google Project Dragon, you will find that they built a internet with censorship involved, meaning that the people in China could go in and manipulate this so that human rights stuff wouldn't go anywhere and it wouldn't be found or shown or what have you. Mm-hmm. And Google was all on board because they were going to make billions of dollars.
And I'm sure they've implemented it here.
Well, actually, I don't know if they have, but if you have, I've never seen anybody develop a piece of software or something that they have it up and running and don't use it anywhere. So maybe.
It would be an awful waste of effort if they only used it in
Google's
China.
King of that, though, putting things in the beta that vanish.
Remember Google Earth?
Yeah.
Or Google Desktop? Remember those?
I don't remember Google Desktop.
Google
Earth was replaced by Google Maps because you have the you can just click on the globe view. It's basically Google Earth.
No,
yeah, but
Earth was different. Earth was different.
Yeah, Earth was different.
It was the upgrade version.
And there was a big time.
I still have it on an old laptop.
I don't know if it would work now, but the Google Desktop was the coolest thing in the world, which I'm stunned. They must have sold it to somebody.
Well, what did it do?
It indexed your entire computer and made it searchable.
Yeah.
Isn't that what Windows 7 does and Windows 10 fails to do?
Windows 10 fails to do.
Is so awful.
Right. I hate
it so much.
I have a
now
program
say it like a 13-year-old.
I have a program called Copnik, I believe, Copnic, made in France somewhere. And it indexes my computer and allows me to find everything. And so
it's like Coppernick or something.
Something like
that.
Yeah. Does it search like all the drives?
X1 used to
it now even will search the Google Drive.
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as I put the URLs in correctly and all that
it's
stuff.
super fast too. Super fast.
And here's how it displays. It says, okay, I pay for it. It's not free. I pay like $29 a year for it.
Well,
but
then
for me,
never mind.
But for me, that $29 a year to find things faster saves me tons of money.
Well, yeah, it saves you tons of time, and time is money. So I think it makes sense for you.
Because the computers become this giant bucket.
Oh, it is a giant
whereas
bucket.
for me, where I have multiple terabytes of drives, where I could, but I'm very relatively organized when it comes to computer files. So even if Windows Search can't find something that's on my frickin' desktop, I can still find it myself because I know I have an idea of where to look.
Russell, every week you struggle to find a theme song for this show.
Yeah, but you know what? That's when looking on the desktop. But I do know where it's found.
But then you end up with
your folder.
But then you end up with this giant desktop that it becomes the sock drawer of desktops where you just
That's not my doing though.
I have a file.
This computer is not solely mine. The one in the back is mine. I brought that in to do work on it.
I can tell that should be called like the single guy P7. It should be the model number of it.
Well, it runs a Pentium. It's got a Pentium in it.
Pentium. I remember Pentium. That's like the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, they brought it back. And,
really?
And here's a shocker. They don't suck.
Oh.
When it boots, it says, click here if you want to operate outside of your parents' basement.
That button never works.
But things have changed. I mean, 125 years ago, I saw this great list online. Things that you didn't have to ask permission from the government for, and the list just made me annoyed. Things, collecting rainwater. You didn't have to ask for permission. In some places, you have to get a permit to have a rainwater barrel to collect rainwater. Go fishing.
Oh, yeah, you got to get a fishing license.
You have to get a fishing license.
Yeah, it's just a matter of a purchase, though.
Own a property. You didn't have to get permission from the government. You didn't have to register permits 125 years ago. Start a business.
Yeah, but
build a home on that property.
$10.
But what gives the right to tell you? What if I decide I want to tax the air? What if I want to tax the air that you breathe?
Well, then move to Planet Spaceball.
I'll show you. I'm not
using
using
Planet Spaceball. How's that?
The get married, hunt.
Okay.
All things you didn't have to pay for, and you do now. Own a weapon, cut hair.
Yeah.
Sell a product, protest, sell food. Kids
you have to get a license to protest?
You have to get a permit.
Are you kidding?
You have to get a permit.
The hot dog stand, the cart at July 4th
what if you protest the license that you need to protest?
Food handler licenses.
Now. Right.
Well, that makes sense. I'd rather have that.
But then you have different ways around it. You have
make people wash their hands.
Cab drivers have to pay for a medallion, which used to go for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And now an Uber driver doesn't have to pay for any of that.
No, they just have to sign up and have a car that's not too old.
It's not fair. It's not a fair business model.
Actually, cab drivers should sign up for Uber.
Well, here's the problem. The reason Uber, in my opinion, came along is because somebody got a really rotten taxi cab driver and a real dirty, smelly cab. Yeah, come on. How many cabs do you get into where you go, oh, and when you get out,
somebody got real upset and decided to do something about it.
Yep. And so the cabs, the good part
that's
is
the mother of invention.
The cabs are much cleaner in Center City. And their medallions used to be up to like $250,000, all owned by, as I'm told, and I don't know if this is true, but I believe it because of the guy that told me it. Most of those medallions were owned by a conglomerate of attorneys.
Yep,
and when Uber came along and took their $250,000 medallions and made them $50,000 or $25,000 or $10,000, there's a lot to be said for why Uber and Lyft were really looked at hard by cities and towns.
Well, those medallions had the same value, this creative value, like liquor licenses. Where it became something you could trade, and you had this value. And then Uber, and I think Bitcoin. I think Uber and Lyft are
created out of nothing.
Right, out of nothing. I think Uber and Lyft are good ideas, and I think they've done a lot of good. But I just think that it has to be a fair playing field, just like hotels are held to a different standard than an Airbnb. You know, and I think you just need to equal the